for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
Roadrunner Rundown on Bakersfield.com and the CSUB Roadrunners Digital Network. Live from the Dignity Health Studios in downtown Bakersfield, California.
And welcome in once again, another edition of Roadrunner Rundown, the official program, CSUB Roadrunner Athletics. Corey Costello with you. Thanks so much for joining us. We got a fantastic show. As normal, we have packed the hour with all things CSUB Roadrunners. But on top of that, we are going to talk to some interesting folks today as well. A show that actually, and I usually don't like to do this, but a show, we're student-athlete free today, which I don't like, but it just happened to be that way. But the fact that we're doing it, we made it very interesting because we're going to be speaking with another new staff member. We're going to be welcoming Josiah Castro to the Roadrunner fold. He is our new assistant AD for Annual Giving. We'll talk to him about his new role, also his some of his plans for the Roadrunner Scholarship Fund. They are also underway in their 2014 funded drive, so we'll talk to him about that and how you can get involved in the Roadrunner Scholarship Fund. So he'll join us in the next segment. Also coming up, bottom of the hour, we're going to change it up a little bit. There's so many things happening within the NCAA and within college athletics. So we decided, at least once a month, we're going to try to have a new In Focus segment, a new segment where we actually sit down with a panel or a couple guests and talk about an issue facing the NCAA. And the latest thing that's been happening, you've heard a lot about this latest case with the National Labor Relations Board and Northwestern University and football and the unionization of their football players and treating them like employees of the university. So we will, of course, that decision being appealed by Northwestern. But we're going to talk with our Associate Athletics Director for Compliance, Marcus Brown, and one of our compliance officers, Joe Flores, at the bottom of the hour. We'll chat about this issue, what it means, what it could mean to college athletics, the trickle-down effect to schools that don't play football like us. And so we'll chat about that coming up at the bottom of the hour. And then last segment of the show today, our good friend Julian Wilson, who years ago, when we first made the Division I transition, he is a CSUB alum. He shot a documentary about this program making their way into Division I athletics. Well, he's back, and he has a new documentary. This one actually is about a soldier who served in 3 wars, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. He's going to have a local screening of that documentary this Friday, and the money is going to benefit Honor Flight of Kern County. So we will chat with him coming up in the final segment of the show. Great guy, great filmmaker, and a good friend of the CSUB Athletics program, so we'll chat with him in the last segment of the show. But, of course, we've got highlights and all sorts of good stuff from this past weekend. Let's start with baseball. Roadrunners hosting Chicago State, heading out to Saturday's game. The Runners trailing 3-0 in the first inning or second inning before Garrett Pierce would get CSUB on the board. This is a sac fly RBI to deep right center, and coming in to score, and they make the Runners get on the board. Then Logan Trowbridge coming up next for Bakersfield, the catcher in Saturday's contest, going the other way with it as he will make it 3-2 Cougars in the second inning. Next hitter for Bakersfield, Oscar Sinai at the plate, and well, he would ground one right. That is actually Alan Gwynn with that one there, and coming in to score, Bakersfield tying this one at 3 for the Roadrunners. This was still in the second inning, and now here's Oscar Sinai. There's the safety squeeze, a beautiful one up the line. 1 run scores, the ball gets thrown away. Hine make that. Sinai will go to second. Trowbridge on to third base, and we are tied at 3 apiece. Now get ready for a weird play. Coming up here, Jordy Hine taps one to the right side. Actually, the pitcher is going to have nowhere to go, so everybody is safe on this one. Bases loaded, we're still tied. Here's the weird play. Miles Jones at the plate. Ground ball, pretty routine to third, dropped. The ball is going to be thrown away. So 1 run scores, 2 run scores. Look at Jordy Hine getting tied up with the shortstop. Interference is called on the play. The throw will beat Hine to the plate, but the third base umpire says, nope, he's not out. Score the play for interference. Take another look at it. Once again, you can see Jordy Hine coming into your picture. Yeah. Get out of the way. Umpire right on top of it. Interference, not allowed to score. CSUB up 6-3. Then Alan Gwynn, part of a 3-night RBI night for him. He delivers. Runners score 7 in the third. They bat 11 players. Chicago State with 1 back in the top of the third. Then the Runners doing it again. Bottom of the third, Oscar Sinai with an infield single to load the bases for the Roadrunners. And then Jordy Hindwood walk in a run for CSUB. So he is aboard. It's now 8-4 Roadrunners. Miles Jones then coming to the plate for Bakersfield, and he'll deliver this one on a bloop single. Another run scores, 9-4, and the Runners are not done yet. As who hit that ball? Oh, that's Chance Guspeth, and it's 11-4 Roadrunners just like that, and 2 more come across. Then Alan Gwynn continuing with a big night, another 2 RBI single right up the middle. This one going to go in the left center gap, and it's going to drop and roll away as a couple more score for Bakersfield, including here's Miles Jones and then Chance Guspeth going to beat the throw. CSUB in complete control. You get the picture. They win on Saturday 16-7. So Friday night, Bakersfield getting the win in this one 6-4. Taylor Aikenhead with the win despite struggling from the mound. Chance Guspeth was a home run short of the cycle. Then on Saturday, Bakersfield winning the game we just saw there 16-7. Alan Gwynn 3 RBIs, as well as James Berrigan getting the win on the hill after a rough start for the Roadrunners. Then on Sunday, it got really ugly. Bakersfield with an 11-0 victory. The Hot Bats continuing a 3-hit performance from starter Austin Davis to mercy rule the Cougars 11-0 after 7 innings. The game was called because of the conference mercy rule. Austin Davis, by the way, named Western Athletic Conference Pitcher of the Week for his effort, that 3-hit effort on Sunday. Upcoming for Bakersfield, busy weekend. Tonight they will be at home. We didn't do a graphic for it because it's just a one game tonight, 6 o'clock against number 3 Cal Poly. But then they go on the road, and they'll be at UT Pan Am this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday because of the Easter holiday, 7, 7, and noon. And then Bakersfield staying in the mid, they're going to go all the way from south of Texas to Kansas. Well, they will take on Kansas State in a pair of non-conference games, Central Time, Monday and Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. So that is the next 5 games for the Roadrunners. As I mentioned, they'll have a game tonight, Tuesday night, against Cal Poly at Hartfield. 6 o'clock the start time. Cal Poly ranked number 3 in the nation. On to water polo. Speaking of ranked teams, the water polo squad always seems to be playing the best in the country, and they're in the best conference in the country, and that's why. They took on number 1 Stanford at the Hillman Aquatics Complex. Runners put up a late fight, winning the fourth quarter, but it wasn't enough, falling 19-6. Runners spotted the Cardinals the first 11 goals of the game before making it interesting. Runners close out the regular season next Friday, hosting San Jose State at 3 o'clock. On to sand volleyball. Bakersfield going 1-2 at the USAV Beach Challenge. Runners losing 5-0 to Hawaii. They ended the day with a 3-2 victory over Arizona with Mariah Alvidrez, Shayna Guitar, also Parents Haynes, and Little and Flemian leading the charge for Bakersfield in Hermosa Beach. Roadrunners will conclude their season. They also lost to Pepperdine in that one as well and beat Arizona 3-2. And Bakersfield will conclude their regular season Saturday and Sunday at the Pac-12 Invitational. On to softball. They had a rough conference weekend. They were at New Mexico State, and on Friday the Runners losing that one 7-5. They opened the first inning with a 4-0 lead, but New Mexico State answered with 4 in the fourth and 3 runs in the fifth to end the game. And then Saturday, Bakersfield playing a doubleheader because of some crazy expected crazy wins. 8-1, New Mexico State getting the victory in that one, and then Bakersfield will drop the second game. Big score here, 17-2. Those 17 runs, by the way, put up in the bottom of the first inning after the Runners got a 2-0 lead. So just having trouble holding the leads against New Mexico State this weekend. Runners will be home hosting Seattle next weekend, or this weekend, I should say, at the softball complex. 2 o'clock on Friday, Saturday at 1, and Saturday at 3 as they continue Western Athletic Conference play. So that was our scores and highlights from around the weekend. And, now it's time to delve back into the wonderful world of Corey Versus. Now, last week, we brought the show back, and we brought the segment back, and it was, semi-successful with our softball pitchers. This week, I decided let's go back to the track because there's so many great things to do with a track and field team that I could basically shoot an entire season worth of Corey Versus just on the track. This time, I thought, you know what, let's see. I'm not much of a sprinter, but let's just see how a sprinter should start a good quality sprint. So here we go. And welcome into another edition of Corey Versus. I have Matt, Justice, and Alyssa here at the CSUB track. Now, you guys are sprinters, and you guys, obviously, the start is one of the most important parts. So you're going to go through some of your start drills today. What exactly am I going to be doing?
Well, we'll first start out by getting your settings right, kind of getting you in positioning there, and then we'll kind of break it down a little bit, go through a couple phases, and get you going with that.
What are some of the what's the keys to a really good start in the blocks?
I think the key to a really good start on the block would be setting yourself up for that explosion. What you're looking for is like a spring action. So when you pull back into the blocks, that's set in spring. Then when you hear the gun go off, your legs are springing forward to propel you forward.
I don't think I have any spring left in me. What is your biggest key?
My key is definitely the reaction to the gun. I mean, you get that reaction and you could be out before anyone else. And if you're not, there's the whole race.
So 3 things that I need that I don't have: spring, explosion, and reaction. So this ought to be great. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
And at this point, the starter just waits until every runner is set.
So Matt and Justice here will show us how it's done, and Alyssa will give us a quick recap and be the starter.
Set. Go!
Pretty smooth. Now Alyssa will show me how to get all set up. Do we need a little bit more? Should I push back? Yeah. Okay. You have to get it just right, but despite changes, I still think I messed it up. Now the fun part, the pre-race routine. Gotta jump like the pros do. Now it's time to set the spring, as they say.
Way too far out.
My spring is a little too tight because I'm about to fall over.
Set. Go!
As predicted, a near disaster. Let's slow it down for review. Yep, disaster.
Take 2, start 2. Here we go.
Chance for redemption. I got this jumping thing down, though. Look how high Justice can jump. I fixed the block so it should be a little smoother this time.
Set. Go!
Or not. Upon further review, still a disaster, but at least I didn't fall.
That was not easy. Good job. Good luck.
And hey, at least I know I can jump. There you go. Thanks to Matt, Justice, for helping me out there. Yeah, that pretty much explains itself, but at least I can jump. And I don't know, maybe I got to go try a triple jump or something. But I just had a problem getting the little block thing too close to the line. I felt like I was, and they tell me you're supposed to feel like you should fall over, but you shouldn't actually fall over, which I almost did twice. So anyway, there you go. Thanks to my friends at the CSUB track and field program. Justice, by the way, I think Justice and Matt both went on to have really good weekends at the Pomona Pitzer Invitational. So I should take a ton of credit for that. We shoot the segment, and then they go out and have a great track meet. They crack the top 20 all time at CSUB. You're welcome. We're going to step away and take a break. When we come back, Josiah Castro will join us. New staff member, new assistant athletic director for Annual Giving joins us next. We'll be back. This is Roadrunner Rundown.
Support student-athlete scholarships and enjoy the social event of the year at the 42nd Annual CSUB Athletics Spring Barbecue, Thursday, May 8th at the Accardo Center. Dinner features Harris Ranch New York steak, teriyaki chicken, and live music from Foster Campbell and Friends. Tickets are $30 in advance and $35 at the door. Tickets are available at Mexicali restaurants, Vaughn's, and all lengthwise locations. The 42nd Annual CSUB Athletics Spring Barbecue, Thursday, May 8th from 5:30 to 9 at the Accardo Center.
Current Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit currentbusinessjournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the bi-monthly Business Journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on currentbusinessjournal.com.
Brave and bold, silver and gold.
We're on a mission. Aggie up.
Bronx Country just got a whole lot bigger.
Mighty Wolverines of UVU.
Join the herd. Lopes up.
Bold moves, big season, grew up.
We are the new gold standard.
We will be champions.
We are the Western Athletic Conference.
The Roadrunner Scholarship Fund creates educational opportunities for over 300 student athletes at CSUB. By becoming a member and donating to the Roadrunner Scholarship Fund, you're not only helping the Roadrunners fund the scholarship needs of our teams, you're investing in the future. The Roadrunner Scholarship Fund isn't just developing student athletes. We're developing tomorrow's leaders from lessons learned during competition. For more information, log on to gorunners.com/donate and become a member of the Roadrunner Scholarship Fund.
And welcome back into Roadrunner Rundown as we continue on the program. Still to come on the show, we're going to have our very first In Focus segment. We're going to start kind of once a month or so looking at an issue within NCAA athletics, and our Associate AD for Compliance, Marcus Brown, and Compliance Officer Joe Flores is going to join us in studio in the next segment to talk about this unionization push with Northwestern University and the National Labor Relations Board. So we'll talk about that coming up. But first, it's always fun to welcome new people into the fold, and we do that yet again with this man to my left, Josiah Castro, our new Assistant Athletic Director for Annual Giving. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Corey.
Well, first of all, I always ask this question to people who come in, new staff, new coaches, doesn't matter. Why Bakersfield, and what kind of excited you about this opportunity?
The opportunity itself. That has a great tradition here. I want to build upon it. Talking with Ziggy, Karen, some of the staff here, it just seemed like a really great opportunity. There's a lot of excitement around the Roadrunners right now, and I want to be a part of it.
You know, let's talk about your role a little bit. You'll oversee the scholarship fund and its growth. What kind of, from your previous experience, do you bring to Bakersfield to help do that?
It's all about community outreach, getting out to the community, talking to the community. Without the support of the community, we won't be able to build upon what we already have now.
And here's the best part about Josiah. He came from New Mexico State, which means that we stole one from the Aggies. But what did you do in New Mexico State? Well, a similar role there, correct?
Similar role. It was a little bit different, a lot more phone calls, and then I moved over from sponsorship sales and ticket sales also.
Now, when you go from a school that had like a football school like New Mexico State to a school without football, but I guess I could say there was a lot of good things that come from a football school that you can apply to a school like ours.
Oh, definitely. Yes. You can take a look at budgeting is different a little bit. Focus is a little different. But the tradition here has been our Division II success and
Right.
rolling it over to our Division I success.
You know, you talked about the community relations aspect. Is that going to be? And it's probably one of the keys, but I know it's been a lofty goal set for the scholarship fund this year, $600,000. So obviously that's one of the keys. What are some other things that I think you guys are going to need to do to make that goal?
It's talking to as many people as we possibly can. We need our alumni support. We need to build our alumni student athletes. Really reaching out to those people, building relationships is what it's all about when it comes to the scholarship fund. This is the good side of athletics, as I like to say, or the philanthropy.
Yeah, there you go. Josiah Castro, our guest on Roadrunner Rundown, new assistant AD for Annual Giving. Now, before you went to New Mexico State to work, you were a research manager at APCO Worldwide, which sounds like one of those evil comic book companies that if you're like reading Spider-Man and it's like, they're dumping puppies into the ocean. APCO, but what did you actually do at APCO?
I did corporate responsibility
Okay.
for Fortune 500 companies, trade associations, really just reaching out to their consumers and seeing what they're doing well and what they can improve on.
So why, when you go from that to then I'm going to go to college athletics and be a fundraiser, what was, how did you bridge that transition?
Out of college, I had two opportunities, two paths to take. One was the Minnesota Timberwolves inside sales, no guarantee of a job in 6 months.
Nice.
Or APCO Worldwide, salary, bonus, we'll move you out there.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason, and APCO was the place to go. And I met my wife out in D.C., and it was a good opportunity. I also was able to go back to school at Georgetown. So.
Yeah. I was gonna say you got your bachelor's from New Mexico State, master's from Georgetown. When it comes to what you do now, like, do the degrees help when dealing with people like donor relations, or does that kind of go out the window and it's just kind of instinct and read the situation and read the person and go from there?
You gotta be a people person for sure.
Yeah.
What Georgetown allowed me to do was work with executives that are in the business to find the best practices.
Okay.
To see what kind of cultures you need to build to be successful. One of my big things is a culture of thank you. I learned that at Georgetown with the Washington Wizards. One of their big things when they had a new owner come in is they weren't thanking their fans.
Yeah.
The new owner came in and it was completely different with the culture of thank you.
There you go. And so then you decide after APCO that you're going to get into college into college athletics. You go back to your alma mater. But what was kind of like, okay, now I'm going to go back and deal with philanthropy within college athletics?
I got introduced to it early in my college career. Fell in love with working with people, talking with people. I love to talk, and so it was an opportunity to take that loving to talk and applying it to what I've always found most important, and that's the education of student athletes.
There you go. And now, was there a moment, I guess, thus far in your college athletics career that made you kind of stop and say, yes, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I've decided to take this path. This is a great shining moment.
I would say it's Betty Osborne.
Okay.
Betty Osborne was a 90-year-old Aggie fan who called me up one day and said, I want season tickets to basketball. So I met her at the arena, and she wanted to take a look at some seats. She had a walker. So I had her up on the concourse. She throws her walker to the side and starts going down the stairs.
And by the way, if people haven't been to the Pan American Center, it is like this all the way to the floor. I mean, it's not an easy climb.
No, it was steep. Her daughter goes to brace her, and she says, I want to get closer to the players. So Betty found a seat. It was open. Set her up with season tickets, and I visit her every game that season and the next season, and just the joy on her face. College athletics brings that to people, the connection, and I love that.
So that's a great story. I'm just impressed that she made it down that. I mean, it's no joke, folks. It is it's a climb. It is.
It is, but she wanted to be closer so she could see their faces, is what she said.
There you go. All right, Josiah Castro, our guest, assistant AD for Annual Giving. You've been in Bakersfield about a week. So far, so good?
So far, so good. Reminds me a lot of Las Cruces. It has that small town feel. Everybody's been really friendly. It can get anywhere in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I love it. So
there is that aspect. Now, you have any other California ties, or is this kind of just a new adventure for you and your wife?
I lived in Ridgecrest, California.
Okay.
When I was in the 7th grade.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with the area.
So you've been in Kern County before, although that is the very far reaches of Kern County.
I've been there before.
Okay.
And my wife was getting her master's degree from CSUB.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay,
CSUB.
there you go.
So.
Excellent. And so you got a little bit. You got some ties. That sounds like you've been out before, so that's good. So what are some of your, I guess, immediate goals? Yeah, I know you just started. You're like a week into this thing. What are some of your immediate goals as you get rolling in this, especially this fund drive you guys have going on?
Bringing in as many new supporters as possible. Right now is the best time to invest into the Roadrunner Scholarship Fund, and really just meeting people. I want to be a part of this community. Me and my wife are excited to be a part of this community. So I want to get out there, meet as many people as possible, and see what the passionate fans have to say about our runners.
And this fund drive you guys have going on, the scholarship fund drive. And I tell this people a lot. It's easier to be involved and cheaper to be involved. A lot of people think, oh, donor, you must have $10,000 you have to give, but you don't. I mean, you guys have, you would definitely take $10,000, don't get me wrong, but you have other ways for people to be involved, and a very affordable deal as well.
Exactly. I mean, a donation with membership benefits starts at $100. You can break that up monthly in payments. For a college student to support their education, 300-plus student athletes, it's a great deal. If you want to volunteer, we're always looking for volunteers, whether it be helping us raise money or helping us with an event or even helping us at games.
Yeah, and so you came into this job and right away they said, oh, yeah, by the way, we got our most lofty fundraising goal and you've got, until June 30 to make it. So get working. So what's that been like so far?
I love a challenge. I love a challenge, and it's a lofty goal, but the excitement that I've seen from our board members, from the staff here, everybody's invested. So it's a lofty goal, but it's an attainable goal.
Absolutely. And last year they made $500,000. This year going slightly over that, which would be great. It all helps student athlete scholarships. And here's how it works, folks. The more scholarships you offer, the more sports you have fully funded, the more competitive you're going to be. Plain and simple.
Exactly.
It just breaks that down, and the more degrees that you help student athletes get as well. So Josiah, thanks for joining us. Congrats on the new gig. Welcome to Bakersfield, and I'm sure we'll be checking in as this fund drive continues and get things rolling with the scholarship fund.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to step away and take a break. When we come back, we're going to be speaking with, it's our first In Focus segment. We're going to be speaking with our Associate Athletics Director, Marcus Brown, for compliance, and Compliance Officer Joe Flores. We're going to tackle this new unionization push that came up in a Relations Board hearing with Northwestern football. That's coming up next. Stick around. It's Roadrunner Rundown.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield Californian. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores.
Save 50 to 90% with the Bakersfield Californian's Daily Deal featured on Bakersfield.com. A daily deal is offered each weekday on services from local restaurants, dry cleaners, health and beauty services, retail shops, and local activities for the entire family. The Daily Deal is 100% local. Find these amazing deals only at dailydeal.bakersfield.com.
The Bakersfield Californian is a great read on the iPad, but did you know that the Bakersfield Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet. You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
Current Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit currentbusinessjournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the bi-monthly Business Journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on currentbusinessjournal.com.
The Roadrunner Scholarship Fund creates educational opportunities for over 300 student athletes at CSUB. By becoming a member and donating to the Roadrunner Scholarship Fund, you're not only helping the Roadrunners fund the scholarship needs of our teams, you're investing in the future. The Roadrunner Scholarship Fund isn't just developing student athletes. We're developing tomorrow's leaders from lessons learned during competition. For more information, log on to gorunners.com/donate and become a member of the Roadrunner Scholarship Fund.
Welcome back to Roadrunner Rundown. My thanks to Josiah Castro for joining us in the last segment, our new assistant AD for Annual Giving. And as I said, he came from New Mexico State, so anytime we steal something from them, boom, point for the Roadrunners. Want to start a new segment now. We're going to try to do this once a month. It's a new In Focus segment, and we're going to just try to attack an issue and talk about an issue within NCAA athletics. And joining us to do so from our compliance department, our associate AD for compliance, Marcus Brown, and compliance officer Joe Flores joining us in the studio. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Corey. Thanks.
Thanks for having us on, Corey.
First of all, what we're going to talk about this time is I think the biggest story that's still being tracked on, because there's an appeal out there, was the National Labor Relations Board recently ruling that Northwestern football and led by their former quarterback Kane Coulter couldn't be allowed to form a union as employees basically of a university, because they put 40-plus hours a week into practice and play and things like that. So this issue has created obviously a whole bunch of talking points and other issues. But I think starting with the issue at large, this unionization push, just to kind of separate, doesn't necessarily have everything to do with pay for play, right? I mean, this is a separate deal on the surface.
Yes, Corey, I would say that it is a separate deal. I'd look at it as another right hook to the NCAA at this point, just another embattled place where their governance, their philosophy about how the membership is handling the student-athlete model is being challenged. But it is a different issue than the pay-for-play slightly, and has enough stuff that overlaps where you're going to have some issues that we're still talking about.
Yeah, I was saying eventually that might come up if this comes through. Now, Joe, I know one thing that has been said about anytime you have a union, a lot of it's about organization and a place at the table, so to speak. I mean, do you kind of see this that maybe the student athletes are looking for more of a say in how governance is made?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big thing that we're looking at here is there's topics outside of pay for play that the student athletes want to talk about, and the current model as it's set up doesn't give them that seat to discuss those issues. It could be anything from cost of attendance, a full ride scholarship meaning more than what we're currently giving them right now. It could mean anything from guaranteeing scholarships after injuries. If a student athlete blows out his knee, scholarships are year to year essentially.
Right.
And trying to figure out a way to ensure that those stay on the books due to the injury that they suffered while they were in their profession. Those are some of the little topics that other topics that they want to talk about.
I was going to say, let's talk about a couple of the issues that Kane Coulter brings up in a lot of his statements about the union push. One of them being healthcare, beyond athletics eligibility. Some of the part of the statement is, here's a player blows out his knee, done, scholarship over, and now all of a sudden he's got knee problems the rest of his life, but he's lost his insurance. He's no longer a student athlete. Not black and white, but is there maybe a way to negotiate that issue, I think, or is that just too much of a cost for NCAA institutions?
We both have legal backgrounds, so we always say there's always room
a little bit closer to the microphone there, Marcus.
There's always room to negotiate in that scenario, but you can understand the issue.
Yeah.
It's a real issue when you go day in and day out and you're giving your all for your program, and there's the likelihood that at any moment your career is over.
Sure.
The question comes up, well, how do I protect myself? And so that aspect of the student-athlete conversation is not the one that concerns, because that's a question that any of us would have. The question is, to what extent, how far should the NCAA be committed to covering that aspect of the student athlete, and how far should the student athlete or their families push in order to ensure that they are being covered. I don't know that there's an easy answer to that, because everybody's not always happy in a scenario. So is there room for negotiation? Yes. Can you extend the time, talk about the time or the amount or the circumstances surrounding it? Yes, but that's on the table for negotiation in any circumstance.
And so that's one of the issues. The other one, what Joe, you kind of brought up as well, was the cost of scholarship as to actual cost of attendance. Now, I still believe there is, even currently now, there is a little bit of wiggle room. There's, athletes get their scholarship checks, they pay what they need to pay, and sometimes there's leftover, whatever. So it seems like there is some of that out there already, correct?
Yeah, and I think the big thing is that from tracking on NCAA responses, they're amenable to that. I think that there's been dialogue that they'd be open to that kind of avenue. Now, I don't know how that plays with the union push, but I do know that at least over the last year or so, that there's been more dialogue saying, okay, what's working what has been working over the last several years is maybe not the best model, and we need to adjust things. We don't think that, and when I say we, I'm speaking on behalf of the NCAA, we don't believe that unions are the best way to go about doing that, but they are open to the idea of more wiggle room with the cost of attendance.
And some of the cost of attendance stuff too, and I know recently NCAA tournament with one of the UConn players saying that I go to bed hungry. And now I hear that, but the thing is I also see these because I hear that too. I hear that from our own people, our own student athletes say, I don't have any money to eat. Let me make a call right now on my brand new iPhone and put in my $400 Beats by Dre headphones and walk away in my $200 jeans. But yeah, you're telling me you don't have any money. So I think a lot of that also falls under the responsibility of the student athlete to just better money management and things like that. Because I hear that a ton.
It is, and that's a fair statement. But I think it's fair to say that there are many athletes who don't necessarily have that experience, who do handle and manage themselves appropriately or reasonably, and yet for the demands that they're having at practice and then running to and from classes and whether they have time in between that is the issue really that we want to haggle over whether we can give them bagels or not, or we want to haggle over whether we can feed them to the extent that they need to be fed considering the demands they're having. That's the conversation that I think they want to continue having, and as long as the NCAA is reasonable and willing to have that conversation, I think we will continue to progress in that process.
And now one of the other issues was academic support that is brought up in the unionization push is we need, more academic support needs to be given so especially men's basketball, football players can graduate. The thing is, though, what I see is maybe this is one of those issues that comes up where if the union thing goes through and the academic support for football and basketball, that all might be increased. What about the other sports? Do you see the cost of that being implemented probably suffering and hurting other sports and smaller sports out there?
I think you have to consider that in that argument. Everybody won't have, and this is a big push to the revenue generating programs. So when you direct your focus specifically to those sports and those sports only or primarily, then yes, you're going to have a huge issue with then how to manage the sports that don't bring in revenue, or the sports that have, we talked a little bit about equivalency sports and those that have less or are lower on the totem pole according to the program's priority structure. But it's going to leave a big gap in how to address those for the other programs.
The NCAA recently said between all their memberships, Division 1, 2, and 3, 99% of their student athletes will not be professionals in the sport they play. And so obviously they want them to focus on what matters, which is finding success in the classroom, on the field, and in life. I know personally our program the last several years, we've done more to invest in student life, the student athlete experience, and academics than probably anything else, right, Joe?
Yeah, and I would agree, and I think you would see that in a lot of different schools as well. The question that this is really going to come down to is there's going to be a lot of you're opening a can of worms with the union. There's a lot of things with regard to that, with regard to Title IX. Title IX is another big issue that we'd have to try to figure out how that would work. Basically, by going down the union route, it sounds great on surface, but what that's going to ultimately end up impacting, whether it's academic support. If you're no longer a student athlete here, you no longer get the student resources. You're now an employee, and you'd have to negotiate for some of those items. How do you treat different sports? Is the union going to be the same for men's basketball as it is going to be for women's golf.
Right.
If you have different unions with those different sports, the leverage for both sports is going to be different. Men's basketball, they know how much money they generate, so they're going to be in a position to generate and leverage more concessions out of the university than women's golf or women's swimming or some of the other lower profile sports in terms of generating revenue. There's just a lot of different avenues that this is going to ultimately end up impacting if we go down that route.
Here was an issue that I raised up recently in a column I wrote about this was Kane Coulter, the quarterback, on a whim, and after a visit to a steel mill, contacted a steelworkers union. They're the union who is involved in helping push this, and that's always been my one big beef with unions. If you're a steelworker, why are you representing someone who's serving food down the street? But that's how it happens. But you guys are both administrators. We're all administrators. Who do you think has the best interest of student athletes in mind? The administrators and coaches and staff that are with them every single day, or a steel mill workers union that just happens to see them as a potential membership benefit?
Well, I think I told Joe when we were coming in here, in the background, somebody stands to gain. And I wouldn't badmouth anyone, but at the end of the day, the interest is in the membership. The membership has put us in this situation, which we are part of that membership. So the growth, the change, the philosophy direction that we have has to come through the membership. And so if you have another union outside who is supporting this push, you have to ask that question legitimately, is where is their interest? Do they understand the issues and the interests significantly enough to guide our student athletes in a certain direction? I'm not sure whether that's happening or not. I mean, the likelihood is that you have someone who's unrelated to athletics who is somewhat involved in the push to this. Begs a lot of questions. And
there's obviously a bunch of unanswered questions and unintended consequences from this. I know, Joe, you talked about that a little bit. But, say that Northwestern loses this labor board appeal. This goes through. Athletes are considered employees. Is there now a chance, like example, Northwestern, they're saying full scholarship, $60,000 a year. Is there now a chance that scholarship, well, now they're employees, that's a taxable piece of income. Who pays that now, right?
Marcus and I were talking about that, and the research I'd done on it is that there's differing views on whether that'd be taxable or not.
Yeah.
Again, limited legal background, and we did go to law school, but we're not tax attorneys by any stretch of the imagination, but it's taxable income. It's a benefit. I mean, you're getting paid a salary, and just like anybody else who works at CSUB or any other institution, you get taxed on your salary. So again, how that would play out, whether the school would be responsible for covering that or whether the student athletes, those are the types of questions that we really don't have answers to, and we're just as interested as you guys are to see how this whole thing plays out.
And I think the same goes with the union deal. I mean, we're all members of unions through the CSU system. We pay those dues.
Right.
Our employee doesn't pay those dues. Our employer doesn't pay those dues. We pay those dues. So who's going to pay the dues for the student athletes to join this steel mill workers union? If that's in fact the union that ends up representing them, but those dues have to come from somewhere. So does that student athlete? Is that another cost to the institutions? I mean, the trickle down effect of this could be some deep pockets for some people.
And you're absolutely right. And that's the concerning part again, Corey, is I've asked, who's involved in this, who stands to gain, and who is directing the student athletes or the programs that are involved. Now, there may be some other programs across the membership that are waiting in the wings to see how this plays out. But right now, Northwestern is that martyr, if you will, to push through this program. But if they're not being advised, one thing I told Joe, what we haven't seen is you haven't seen that if this goes through and they unionize, what does that look like? You haven't seen those experts that are pushing this issue tell us, well, this is how you protect our student athletes under that union scenario, and that's a concern.
One thing I loved was and this is what when you hear student athletes saying they're not getting enough, or maybe they're not getting, and there are some areas that could be improved, but obviously the cost of an education, a college education for most people, I mean, that to me is worth the price of being on scholarship, because you're going to get that for the most part at all paid for, a piece of it. But I loved Coach Dabu Sweeney of Clemson, who said, we've got enough entitlement in this country as it is to say these guys get nothing totally devalues in education. It blows my mind people don't even want to quantify an education. I didn't get into coaching to make money. Coaches weren't making any money when I got into coaching. It's what I want to do with my life. It's what I was able to do because of my education. That's what changed my life. That's what changes everybody's life. I think a little bit it has been minimized, the value of a scholarship and an education lately.
I'd agree. It's hard. it may be hard for those on the opposite side to quantify that, or they may be deliberate that they're not wanting to quantify. But the education, we all know, as we've gone through the system, education has a value, has a significant value, and all the stats about how much more you can make if you're high school diploma versus graduate school, and now or undergraduate and now graduate school. There's a significant value in that, but no one wants to acknowledge that appropriately, I think, is different.
Ask any college graduate that didn't have a scholarship that took out student loans how much they would have, they would have easily decided, would have loved to play basketball or football and then graduate and not have any student loans to worry about, right? Yeah, without a doubt. All right, well, this issue it continues. I know the appeal's coming up later this month to be heard, so we'll see where that ends up. And probably if this thing either blows up on a larger scale or gets minimized, we'll have you guys back to talk about it some more. I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Corey.
All right, Marcus Brown, Joe Flores here on Roadrunner Rundown. We're going to step away and take a break. When we come back, Julian Wilson will join us. He's got a new documentary. I was actually in one of his documentaries. Can you believe it? And it won some awards. What do you know? We'll talk to him about his new documentary and a local event he's got coming up to raise money for the Kern County Honor Flight. Back after this, it's Roadrunner Rundown.
The Bakersfield Californian is a great read on the iPad, but did you know that the Bakersfield Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet. You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
Support student-athlete scholarships and enjoy the social event of the year at the 42nd Annual CSUB Athletics Spring Barbecue, Thursday, May 8th at the Accardo Center. Dinner features Harris Ranch New York steak, teriyaki chicken, and live music from Foster Campbell and Friends. Tickets are $30 in advance and $35 at the door. Tickets are available at Mexicali restaurants, Vaughn's, and all lengthwise locations. The 42nd Annual CSUB Athletics Spring Barbecue, Thursday, May 8th from 5:30 to 9 at the Accardo Center.
The new book is out. That was easy. I would title this thing sort of a description of what raising children is like. That was easy. I've been writing columns now for about 25 years. Writing has always been a conversation. You're taking somebody by the hand for 3 or 4 minutes and you're not letting go. The new book, That Was Easy. Nothing easy about any of this, but we've had some fun, and I hope you guys will have some fun looking at this book.
The Roadrunner Scholarship Fund creates educational opportunities for over 300 student-athletes at CSUB. By becoming a member and donating to the Roadrunner Scholarship Fund, you're not only helping the Roadrunners fund the scholarship needs of our teams, you're investing in the future. The Roadrunner Scholarship Fund isn't just developing student-athletes. We're developing tomorrow's leaders from lessons learned during competition. For more information, log on to gorunners.com/donate and become a member of the Roadrunner Scholarship Fund.
Welcome back into Roadrunner Rundown. My thanks to Marcus Brown and Joe Flores joining us from the Compliance Department to bring us our In Focus segment. What I do is when we have these issues, and what we will do on the show, we have these issues facing the NCAA, we'll bring in people that are far smarter than me in order to figure them out, and that's what we did. They both have law degrees. I barely have a degree. So we will. That's why we bring those guys in, and we'll bring them in more, especially as this unionization thing continues to develop within NCAA athletics. I want to welcome to the program now. He has a degree from CSUB because he's a phenomenal filmmaker. Julian Wilson, Silver Titan Productions, got a new documentary out, An American Hero, the Gene T. Ship Story. Backstory on Julian real quick. A CSUB alum, been working in film since he graduated many moons ago. Yes. You spent a couple of years shooting a documentary about us, about the Roadrunners making the transition into Division I athletics. Now you're back a few years later. We're in a conference. We're winning some championships. We got some All-Americans. What do you think of this place now?
I tell you what, that was the point of it all, to get to where you guys are today. And I have to say, I have to congratulate you first and the university. This is phenomenal. You don't see this everywhere you go, and I've been to a number of universities doing various work. You don't see this type of setup. I have to congratulate you. So everybody who has a part of this or can be a part of this, please support it. This is fantastic.
Should we do a sequel to your documentary now? Like I could be like an old action star coming back out of retirement for a sequel, maybe?
I've participated in a couple of sequels, but I think they just went straight to DVD.
Yeah, exactly. Now, that documentary that you did a few years back, I think you filmed it, what, 08, 09, or 7, 8, 9?
It was around that time, right at the beginning of the transition.
Right.
So, and again, coming in, I saw something. I said, look, they're making this transition. CSUB, during its Division II days, was one of the most heralded universities in Division II, with the championships they used to get and win in basketball and the other sports. So I said, why not document and see what it really takes to make the transition? And I think for me, the most important part about doing that documentary was so that people could see the sacrifice, the commitment that's necessary to do something, and that it's not easy to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I wish at the time I could have done a documentary about you doing the documentary, because literally, folks, I'd be traveling around the country. I'd be in Cincinnati, and we play Cincinnati. I'd look up in the stands, and there's Julian shooting video, or he would just show up in Utah, and you're like, wait, where'd he come from? I mean, it was great, and obviously so much great footage out of that, and so much has happened since. Now that one actually did pretty well in terms of like audience reactions, screenings, and stuff like that as well. You guys?
Yes, it did, and the reason why it did because CSUB athletics, specifically the baseball team, had done some phenomenal things during that inaugural season. They, I believe, Fresno State
beat the defending national champions.
Right, they were defending national championships, and you got this brand new team. You got a group of guys who never played together, and if you don't know a lot about baseball, you have to understand something. Baseball players are successful because they've been playing with each other.
Yeah.
These guys didn't know each other, and they went out and beat a defending national championship team.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
First time that's ever happened in Division I baseball, an upstart program beating a defending national champion. So you moved to Indiana. You're working at Indiana University. You come across this man, Gene Ship. How'd that happen?
Wow, and a good question, because I still can't believe that it happened, and neither can he. I was at the College Mall in Indiana, just there, and he's walking through. He has a cane. He's walking real slow. He has 2 hip replacements. However, I see this hat that he's wearing, and it says World War II vet on the top, and I had to make sure that's what I saw, World War II. And then I keep reading, and it said Korea. And I said, World War II in Korea? I said, wow. And then I kept reading, it said Vietnam. I said, no, he was not in all 3 wars. And I stopped him. And I asked him his name, and I said, were you in all 3 of those wars? And he said, yes, I was. And we had this blank stare for a moment, caught in the headlights.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe this. So I made an appointment with him to meet him at his home to get the story. He didn't know I was a filmmaker at the time.
Okay.
So I went to his home, and I asked him about it. He started telling me the story, and I'm looking at all the pictures, and I said, would you like to share your story with the rest of the world? Because I would like to put it together. And then he thought, well, this guy. And then he saw the end result, and he was in tears. And he said, I never thought that I would see what I went through in my life. on television.
It's a great story, and now you're screening this locally. You're going to be screening this this Friday night at the Cross Family Center on V Street, 7 p.m., $10 admission, and all money is going to go to the Kern County Honor Flight. How'd this kind of come about to get connected locally with this film?
Well, I wanted to screen the film because Kern County is a hub, so to speak, for veterans. We take care of our veterans here, and this is actually going to be the first place that this film
It's a documentary debut then?
Yes, it's going to be the first place it screens. So it was very important to do that. Our thing is, and my thing is that anything that I do, it has to have a sort of a bigger purpose. It has to do something for people. And so Honor Flight is one of the biggest things going now because we're losing our veterans, by the hundreds per day. And a lot of them have not been able to take this trip to Washington, D.C. to visit the memorial. And so Honor Flight, what Honor Flight's doing is they're getting these veterans together and taking care of them, giving them carte blanche. You're taking the flight, and it's a beautiful thing when you see them there.
Awesome. Well, $10 this Friday night at the Cross Family Center, and 7 o'clock is the screening time. 2201 V Street is where it's located, and again, the $10 will go to the Honor Flight of Kern County. Julian, I thank you so much. Great job on this documentary. I really enjoyed it, and we're going to show it to our student athletes here eventually as well because there's a lot of lessons to be learned from it. Yes. And good luck with this event on Friday, and we'll be in touch for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Corey, again. And again, congratulations to you. Congratulations to the university. There are some great things happening. The campus is beautiful.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And it's a good thing coming from Julian, a guy he's seen it. He's been through it. So that is great. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us. My thanks to Josiah Castro joining us in the first segment. He was our new assistant AD for Annual Giving. Also, Marcus Brown, Joe Flores on the program today, and Julian Wilson for joining us as well. Join us next week. We'll have more highlights from CSUB athletics. Possibly a new Corey Versus. I think I have to redeem myself after that wonderful track start. We might see a redemption there, and of course much more. Also, we'll be focusing on baseball. They'll be back in town next weekend, facing first place Sacramento State. We'll chat with some members of CSUB baseball and do a little behind enemy lines as well as the Runners and Hornets, the last two defending WAC champions, meet next weekend in Hartfield. So we'll have a big preview of that on next week's show as well. Thanks so much for joining us, folks. Catch the show anytime online at GoRunners.com. This is Corey Castro. Thanks for joining us. This has been Roadrunner Rundown.